Hello, everybody, and welcome to Hash Rate. My name is Mark Jeffrey, and today we have two guests, both from TAO CETI. So the first guest is Aaron Smith-Hayes, CIO. How you doing, Aaron?
I'm doing good. How are you, Mark?
I'm doing very well. And my second guest tonight is Dennis Jarvis, CEO of TAO CETI. How you doing?
Nice to meet you, Mark. CETI AI, the name of the company. The website, taoceti.ai. I know it's a bit confusing, but
yeah. So I think your Twitter's TAO CETI as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's the CETI AI. Yeah.
Is the CETI? Okay, I'm sorry, my mistake. Off to a great start.
No worries, man.
Anyway, gentlemen,
we got a lot of history behind like that name, and sometimes I admit it can be like a little bit confusing, like why you have Tao in there sometimes, as opposed to just CETI AI. But
yeah, no, I mean it's a great name. I mean, I think I read your stuff and you referenced the Kardashev scale. Which right. I thought was pretty good.
All right, great.
So why don't you tell us about that for a second, and then we'll talk about what TAO CETI is.
Yeah, so the Kardashev scale is a way of measuring like the evolution of an advanced civilization, and it measures the amount of energy that a civilization consumes. So at level 1 on the Kardashev scale, an advanced civilization is utilizing 100% of the energy available to it on the entire planet. And then
so we suck. 2, we're like at 0.0008 or something.
Actually, not that bad. Like we're still at 0.6 or 0.7, depending, I think, but we're getting there. But there is this idea of level 2 where you're harnessing 100% of the energy in your solar system or your star system, and it's through like advanced technology like a Dyson sphere, for example. And it is really like a marker of like, where we see the potential, for human civilization or advancement to reach one day far in the future, and getting there, advancing all of humanity.
So you take like a solar panel.
AI, yeah.
You take like a solar panel and you wrap it all the way around the sun. So like there's no hole in it. So you're collecting all the heat, all the light, everything, right? That's what you're talking about?
With the help of very powerful artificial intelligence, guiding you the whole way. So yes.
Got it. Okay. All right. So now tell us, what is CETI AI?
Yeah, CETI AI is an infrastructure company powering the future of decentralized artificial intelligence. And decentralized artificial intelligence is this emerging field that has risen in response to what seems to be like almost cartel-like control over artificial intelligence by a handful of very powerful companies like Microsoft, Google, OpenAI. Decentralized AI is the decentralized response to that, the community response to that. And it features a number of like interesting projects where people have developed ways to make AI models and compute available via the blockchain. CETI AI is the compute and provider for all of these projects. So we're the infrastructure backbone of the future of decentralized artificial intelligence.
So just sort of like breaking that down a little bit. So it sounds like, from what I could gather from your materials, and granted I had a great start, so maybe I'll get this right, maybe I won't. But it seemed like you actually, when you say you have the hardware that powers decentralized artificial intelligence, you actually do have the hardware, the boxes in the data centers. Is that correct? That's basically what you're doing?
Exactly. Yeah, we, with the help of our community, our token ecosystem, we purchase the hardware and we run it ourselves. Aaron can tell you about like, this is, well, Aaron, tell them like what kind of hardware we're running. Is this like some like, gamer graphic card,
Yeah. So, the typical hardware that comes out is, these people are piecemealing GPUs out there on a lot of the computing products. What we're bringing to the table are pods, as Dennis mentioned before, and eventually super pods. The configuration of these machines allow them to unify their VRAM, right? So our first pilot scale implementation is going to have 3,200 gigabytes of unified VRAM to assist in training models. And what this is going to allow people to do in a decentralized way is train these large language models. Because right now, if you want to go and train like a 13 billion parameter model, good luck finding access to hardware like that, right? You can go get, 8 H100s in a DGX system accessible, but that's not going to hit very hard for lots of parameters, right? So we eventually want to get to the trillion parameter mark, with the new B200s to offer to the community. And that's where you're going to see like real decentralized intelligence that actually has an opinion that's reflecting of, humanity instead of, a corporation or a political viewpoint.
Yeah, no,
and it starts with the training. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think we're all on the same page. We're all fans of decentralized AI, but you're the first people I've run into who are actually supplying the nuts and bolts hardware yourselves, and the data centers, and the power, and the cooling, and sourcing the machines. Just doing all of that. Like
Yes.
Other people, we've had a Cache on the show, and they're basically like a marketplace for other people doing what you're doing, right? They don't actually own any hardware, right? So.
We're bringing the same, state-of-the-art, top-spec NVIDIA gear to world-class data centers that the big boys have, right? That the cartel companies have. And so that's what makes us really unique, is that we're giving that same capability to the blockchain and decentralized projects.
So, but you have a token. You have this CETI token, right? So you briefly touched on that earlier. What does the CETI token do, and how does that relate to someone who basically runs a data center? Why is that relevant to you?
Yeah, I think the token is not really relevant to someone who owns the data center as much as it is to somebody who wants to participate in this decentralized infrastructure and AI revolution on the Web3 side. What the token enables us to do through the token tax that we collect on every transaction is purchase the hardware and operate the hardware that powers these decentralized AI networks. And by doing this, we earn revenue from these decentralized AI networks and then return that revenue to the token ecosystem. So the purchasers of CETI, those who participate in the CETI token ecosystem, will earn yield in the form of revenue generated by the hardware that we purchase.
So do I stake my CETI tokens in order to earn that yield? Is that how that works? Yes? Okay.
Yeah, we haven't announced the exact mechanism yet by which the token ecosystem will earn yield, but it's coming soon, and it'll probably feature a liquid staking token or liquid staking tokens for all the different networks that we participate on.
Okay, Aaron, Aaron and I, people don't know this. Aaron and I actually met in real life for the first time. I think it was last week at Michael Turpin's new Tokenize event in Santa Monica, California, sort of the inheritor of the Coin Agenda event, which has been running for roughly a decade now or so. And we were on a panel together, and I think you and I were we were probably the most knowledgeable. I don't know if we were the only ones who knew about it, but I think we were probably the ones with our necks deepest into BitTensor specifically. And you started talking about DTAO and all that kinds of stuff. And I think a lot of people were like, what is he talking about? What is this thing? So in order for your hardware to earn revenue, your hardware and you guys participate in BitTensor, probably Akash, probably a few other ones. But you seem to focus a little bit more than usual on BitTensor, I think, based on what I've seen and heard from you guys. So is that true? And tell me, what the relationship is between you guys and BitTensor, and what you think of it.
Well, I mean, I personally love BitTensor, and actually, a couple of these things that you mentioned are actually the reason that CETI exists today. So the first one would have been Tokenize and the Coin Agenda events. So actually, Dennis and Tony and I, along with Austin, I've known Austin since I was like 7 years old, so we didn't just meet there, but we've been going to them for a while. But that's where the core of CETI actually met, was in Monaco about like 2.5 years ago or something like that at a Michael Turpin event. So that was actually like part of the formation of CETI. Ever since then, we always hung out at conferences together, but we always did different things. Now when people come up to us, it's just like we all turn our heads and say CETI.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think you mean Tony Evans. Is that correct?
Yeah, yes. Yeah. So, I mean, Tony Evans. Yeah. So he's also one of the founders, along, with, Dennis and Austin and I. So, it's kind of like the Coin Agenda was sort of the birthplace there of CETI. And then, the other thing that you mentioned was BitTensor. I have been researching and developing tools for BitTensor for a little over a year now. I've been meeting with one of the founders, Jacob, for a little over a year now, just in just conversation just about BitTensor and kind of like what our plan is. One of my favorite things about talking to Jacob is when you bring up like, hey, this is what we want to do. He's like, yeah, go for it. It's decentralized. I can't really help you, but I might be able to give you some information or tell you if you're barking up the wrong tree. So, I mean, that's one of the big things that turned me on to BitTensor in the first place was how it's already been, so much of it was given away to the community at large, right?
BitTensor was the project that brought us all together. Like how CETI was born. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So BitTensor, because TAO CETI, you work TAO into the name, well, one of your names, and so it's definitely in there. And I noticed that I think your token trades against Wrap TAO at the moment, but nothing else. I think that's correct. So I did
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I was just actually going to get to that, but yeah, when we met Dennis, just on a personal trip where you're at the Super Bowl, just hanging out, and he was the CEO of Bitcoin.com. I'm like, hey, you're a big exchange, what do you got your eyes on? And he's like, BitTensor. And at this point, I'm like 8-9 months into researching on it and meeting with the founders. So I'm like, yeah, okay, let me tell you a story, buddy. And this idea we've had to start up an infrastructure company, and unknown to us, Dennis quits his job like a couple days later after he gets back to Tokyo and tells us just TAO takeover, baby, and daily meetings have been happening ever since then.
Got it. So BitTensor is what gave you guys the bug. And so, Dennis, talk. I was going to do this later, but we're here now. So you were the CEO of Bitcoin.com. Tell us a little bit about your background. And I was going to ask you what led up to this, but I guess now we know that. But tell us about your background and why you found this attractive.
Yeah, so I worked at Bitcoin.com for a number of years. I was CEO for 4 years, and during that time, I think it was an amazing opportunity to get exposure to just a tremendous amount of new projects coming into the crypto space, and it is through that being immersed in crypto 24/7, working with some of the best people in the industry, that I had the opportunity to come across projects like at BitTensor and meet people like Aaron, Austin, Tony, Logri, and it was I think just a really opportune moment, like when the universe brings the right time, the right project, the right people all to your doorstep, all at once. You want to seize that. And I think for me, I look at this as like a culmination of not only my time at Bitcoin.com, but my 25 years in the tech industry as a moment that you just want to seize, right? Carpe diem.
Yeah, I feel like this is a moment too, like an iPhone moment or an internet moment, or whatever. So, or even a Bitcoin moment, maybe. So, Aaron, same question. Tell us a little bit about your background and why you found this fascinating.
So my background is in software development. I taught myself C when I was very young, and I haven't looked back. And it's been a journey, that's for sure. But my love of cryptocurrency came from hardware. So a friend of mine basically asked if I could strap 12 graphics cards to a motherboard. And I'm like, that sounds like a really good time. Like, bring them on over and let's do this. And then through that, my wife asked me, what are you doing with all this crap? And I'm like, oh, honey, I'm building this thing called a crypto miner. And she's like, you know how to do that? You're doing that for us. So she went and cashed out her savings account and came home with a wad of cash. She's like, go buy us a miner and let's get going.
What year was this?
This was early 2017.
Still pretty early. Okay.
Yeah, not too bad. So that got going, and it's making money. And Austin, who's a childhood friend, I've known him my whole life.
Austin? You guys keep referencing Austin, but I don't know who that is.
He's the CFO of CETI. He's another one of the founders. Yeah. And so I've known him forever, and his background is in finance. So I went to him like, hey, these things are making money, and it's a lot more than the money going into them, and they are going to ROI at 2 months. And he's like, well, we got to go big time. And then like literally 2 days later, we're meeting with the CEO of Legion Metal. And we were able to take the mine public, essentially. They gave us a blank check to go around the city and buy every 1080 Ti. And that's exactly what I did. It was pretty awesome. I'd go to these stores and be like, how many 1080 Ti's do you have? And they're like, how many do you want? I'm like, probably all of them. And I think one of the largest orders was like 80 from a single store. So I think it was like $130,000. And that was like my first venture into like large scale, pubco mining. And ever since then, you know, I've just fallen in love with the hardware. You know, software development is of course like just something I'm very passionate about, but you know, nothing beats building these complicated machines with all these wires and power requirements, turning them on and watching them run at 100% capacity on end for days and days and days and days. That is just like, I consider an accomplishment. And yeah.
Yeah. So you're in love with hardware and you're that guy. And when AI came along, you're like, oh my God, this thing needs hardware like no tomorrow. Yeah. So, where are these data centers? Like, you've got physical machines, so they're located somewhere. So, tell me a little bit about like where are they and like how big is it?
Well, right now it's in Vancouver, and that's as close as I'm going to tell you. I'm not dropping a pin on millions of dollars for the hardware. Okay. But you know, we're looking to expand into. Right now, it makes sense because I live in Vancouver, and a lot of us are based in. Like Austin and I are based in Vancouver. It makes sense for this pilot scale to set us up here because it doesn't make sense to fly us across the country to Quebec, which is where there's significantly cheaper power and where we're looking to set up the full pod implementation, right? So that's the net. Yeah. So we're going to be looking Quebec potentially for the next location, and then also down in America, you know, around the Midwest, kind of where most of the power is, to set up more infrastructure there.
Okay.
Yeah, these massive hardware installations, they require like a couple of things. Like you have to have more and more so access to cheap power. And that's usually where there's an excess of power. So it's kind of, you know, we're either in, you know, around remote locations or that are hydroelectrically powered, like Quebec, for example. Or, you know, wherever you can find an excess supply of energy and not enough, you know, consumers for it, so you can get a really good price on it. And they also need, if that's not enough, you know, you have to be in a really favorable geographical location as far as the internet is concerned. So you want to have low latency ping times, you know, going east and west, for example, or north and south, depending. But you know, it's hard to find these locations where you have like really you know, cheap power, and believe me, you need a tremendous amount of it for what we're doing.
And cooling, I would imagine as well. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So I've seen a few business plans or decks lately, and I'm not going to name names, but one of them in particular claimed to be able to cluster hardware infinitely, which seemed like a bunch of BS to me. And I have a feeling that it probably is, but that is the claim. But I do know that you guys, in reading through your materials, you have something that you call the intelligent compute fabric, which sounded a little bit like clustering or AWS Lambda to me. And I, you know, without getting into details, I don't know if I'm right or not, but tell me what that is.
Yeah, the CETI AI Intelligent Compute Fabric is the software layer that sits atop, you know, all of this expensive, you know, shiny hardware. And what it does is it optimally allocates, you know, the hardware based on economic productivity. So like whatever the best return that we can get for that compute or running that model is, our proprietary software, you know, will do the switching or the allocation of the GPU and the models to that most economically productive, you know, client, whether it's a decentralized network or a broker, for example.
So if I'm buying your services, I'm actually buying that. That's what my control panel interfaces to. I'm not actually buying, you know, like when I go into a Akash, I see like a menu of machines, right? It's like, you know, here's 3 machines and they're running this operating system. That's not what you guys do. You provide the compute as a service abstracted in this layer. Is that right?
Yeah, let's say like generically, like a company or a broker like Akash, right? We would connect, you know, the CETI AI Intelligent Compute Fabric to their network. in order to participate, when it makes most sense for us from economic productivity standpoint.
Yeah. Okay. So are you guys actively working in the Akash network right now?
No, we have not turned on our hardware yet. It's coming online this month.
I see. Okay. Yeah. Actually, I wasn't clear on whether it was up and running yet or not. Okay. So none of this stuff is there yet, but it's all about to start to hit. So
literally, you can, with a couple of days. So.
Yeah. So it's just around the bend. So you guys must be excited because this is like the big launch. And I gotta imagine there's a ton of.
It's hard to sleep, man. Oh my God, this is worse than Christmas.
Yeah. I mean, but launches are rough though too sometimes. So you might not quite sleep for a little while until everything sort of settles down. But hopefully,
hey man, I got to put together like over 100 1080 Ti's individual cards. I built all the frames for them, hooked up all the power and the motherboards, and I did this all in under 2 weeks. These HGX systems come fully assembled, so I'm very excited for this. I've done a ton of launches in my time. I've been running a software development company for 4 years now in the blockchain space, doing DeFi protocols actually, and meme coins and the whole gauntlet, NFTs, you name it. I've probably deployed it. So I work with the space industry, so I've launched satellites. Those are one way. These machines I get to plug in and play with and for a long time. This is the opposite of nerve wracking. I can't wait to get to my hands on these. These are like the Ferraris of computers, right? Like these things are expected just to work.
I don't know these numbers. Yeah. Like you're rattling them off. I'm like, I don't know what that is. But,
each one of them has 2 terabytes of system memory and yeah.
All right, Dennis, I want to ask you a question now because I have I'm not a hardware person like Aaron is, but I've touched it in the past. I've been a CTO a couple times, a long time ago, not recently. But I've set up data centers and it's painful. And I've talked to people. I thought about getting into Bitcoin mining the way Aaron had for a little bit at one point, possibly at scale. And as I dug into it, I realized that it was just a treadmill with, anytime a new chip comes out, you're screwed and you don't know when those new chips are going to come out. And that's, that's just going to completely upset your P&L, like out of nowhere, and you can't predict it. Right. So hardware is a hard business. So
let's talk about parallels with Bitcoin mining then. You're
tell me, but I'm just curious. Like it looks like a buzzsaw, just to be honest with you. Right. In terms of a business, it's hard. So why would you go and stick your head in that buzzsaw? Like that's what I think.
Rather than a buzzsaw, it's a battle, and I don't think you would go to battle like poorly equipped or unequipped. So I think that we're very well equipped for this battle for hardware resources and compute in this space. When you as you guys know, like you used to be able to mine Bitcoin on a computer, on a laptop, right? And then you used to be able to buy an ASIC miner and mine at your house, right? You could plug in a single ASIC miner and actually make some money with it. And then it started to get like a little bit more difficult to do it on your own. So a lot of people, like Aaron, for example, started Bitcoin mining companies and took them public because it took a certain amount of scale in order to be able to compete. And now where we see the Bitcoin mining space is it's not a lot of companies left. Like there's a few very, very large companies in this space. Why? Because they have those supplier relationships in place for many years now, where they're able to get the new ASIC hardware as soon as it comes off the line at scale. They're able to deploy it at scale. They're able to Bitcoin really needs power. Bitcoin mining really needs power more than a full-blown data center. So they're able to get cheap electricity, and they've really managed to I think corner that market through their expertise, relationships, and capabilities. It's a very large companies. And then in the AI and decentralized physical infrastructure space, the space that we're talking about with CETI AI, it's analogous, right? You definitely have to have these relationships, for the hardware, right? That's not changed, with respect to what it looked like in Bitcoin mining. You definitely now have to have relationships, at the data center side. Like, these are not Bitcoin mines. These are like, tier 3 data centers, that are like, iris scanner, security to go in through, the unlocked doors.
I've been in there.
Right. So this is real deal facilities. And, in addition to the hardware and the facilities, you also have to run software. Like, you have to run the models for AI compute, and you have to do it better than other companies do or your competitors do. So your model has to outperform a competitor's model if you're mining an AI blockchain, for example. And so we also have the chief software scientist, Logri the Bard, is his pseudonym, and I expect it sometime in the near future. He will, fully come out, in the public space. But he's our superstar PhD computer science who, is helping us build the City AI intelligent compute fabric, and run, do the model inference and training necessary to help us outcompete in this space. So it's really a combination now. Not only do you need all the things you need before for Bitcoin mining, like the access to the hardware and the resources, but now you also are in the software game, right? You're also in the AI software space.
That's interesting. Okay, so my characterization of you as effectively a data center is wrong, because what you're really a custom cloud that's aimed directly at AI. Even though you own hardware, you're really a cloud company. Is that probably a better description?
Yeah, includes the data center, but
yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, when we explain ourselves to NVIDIA, we have to call ourselves NCPs, which I think is NVIDIA Cloud Partners. So, like, that's our acronym when we talk to those guys. So, yeah. And then on top of that, actually, why it's a little different now from your time in the data center is because, like, that silicone was probably running at, like, 80-90% idle, right? So then all of a sudden something comes out that's faster, that's 30-40% faster. Well, it makes sense just to unplug that and get rid of it, hot sell it on eBay for nothing, and throw in this new one, right? Yeah. These new forms of compute are fully saturated. They're running at 100% capacity, like almost all the time. So when you get more compute or better compute, you don't unplug these things. You just plug in more. I mean, that's why you still have S19s profitably mining on Bitcoin today, because they just moved to areas where gas or where electricity is very cheap or free, or, in cases like the flare gas situations in Texas, where they're actually getting paid carbon credits to mine it. It's the opposite of free. They're getting paid carbon credits and they're mining this Bitcoin. They're getting the power for free. That's a magical situation, right? So in the future,
a lot of people don't understand. I know what you just said because I read Lynn Alden's book. So, and she makes the point that Bitcoin mining makes energy transportable in time and space. So stranded energy that's like in the middle of a jungle can still be profitable, even though there's nowhere to pump that energy to. But by the same token, there's flare-offs, I guess natural gas. They have to actually generate energy, even though they really don't want to. They have to just to sort of keep things working. But that energy doesn't go anywhere because energy rots if it's not used immediately. So It'd be great if you could put that to some use and make some money off of it. So your Bitcoin miners can, and that's how you transport energy in time, I guess would probably be the way to describe that.
Yeah, and before blockchain, there really was nothing that could saturate silicone like that, right? And now that you have AIs popping up, I would see, like before there was nothing that was competing for these spaces with Bitcoin mines, right? They were just looking for shut down gold mines or whatever to plug in their power and go, right? And nobody else was looking for those properties. That's changed now, right? So the whole landscape of data centers and power delivery and who's going to be getting the cheapest, most renewable energy on the planet is going to shift quite dramatically, I'd imagine, over the next 5 years.
Very interesting. So let's talk about BitTensor now. Let's go directly there. So I think I understand how you would interface to Akash. You would simply use their proprietary scripting language to describe your hardware, which in your case isn't really your hardware, it's more like your cloud, your intelligent fabric cloud. You would somehow use that scripting language and then put yourselves on the market. You'd be like, open your front door, sell your wares. Anybody who wants this compute can buy it from us on the Akash network. BitTensor, I'm sort of less clear on because BitTensor is organized into, I guess, 36 now subnets, and each subnet operator has their own totally different way of providing, or sorry, actually the miners in the subnets, not the subnets themselves. The miners in the subnets would potentially be the people who are purchasing your services in order to have hardware to run their AI models on. Is that correct? So how do you reach out to these people? Are you talking to them already? What does that relationship look like?
I think I was about to say, like, right now we are going to be the miners on BitTensor. This is something, I've been spending a lot of time researching and developing on over the last year with another partnered token called Roku Network. And actually just today, Roku Network and I and Logray, we have signed on as BitTensor devs. So we're working directly with the team.
Okay.
So that's kind of why it makes sense. But I mean, that doesn't give us really anything extra. It's just
traffic.
Well, Dennis, you want to comment on that?
This is a fantastic opportunity, to have Aaron and Logray, working side by side with the core devs from OpenTensor Foundation on like the nuts and bolts of BitTensor itself, and to have CETI devs as part of that is tremendous opportunity. I think both for for everybody involved, for BitTensor, for Roku, for CETI, for the entire community. I'm super proud, that we have, two of the smartest minds in this space, Aaron and Logray, who OpenTensor, really wants to work with on, this core development, the BitTensor command line interface. So.
Yeah, that is super cool. Congratulations on that. Who is Roku? I don't know other than like my TV thing.
It's Roku, ROKO, the Roku Basilisk, but it's Roku.network. They're just a group of guys that I've been working with for a little over, it's the founder I've known for like 4 years, but I've been working with the Roku Network for about a year. And it's primarily a research company. They have a token, but it was focused originally around some of the new protocols like Marlin, and BitTensor was one that I was really pushing them to get into, and they did in a pretty big way. And they're the company that have been basically paying for me to research and develop on BitTensor for the last year, and basically allow me not to have a day job, right? So they're a wonderful group of guys. Prime and Alpha, they're wonderful gentlemen, and I couldn't be happier to be working alongside those guys, and of course OpenTensor, which is an absolute honor. To be working with those guys at this point. So that's the Wrap TAO kind of connection.
Yeah. Okay. So that's why your token is tradable only against Wrap TAO versus, and I don't think it's even tradable against Ethereum. Yeah, for now.
Yeah, there is a pool of Ethereum, but it's not supported by Team. We got like a couple $1 million in our official Wrap TAO CETI pool. It's on Ethereum, tradable on Uniswap. That's where we decided to go with. And, it actually worked out really well for us because when you pair with Ethereum, all the sniper bots, they're very much tuned to being able to just like come in and nail your token, and how these KOLs want you to deal with it is they want you to bundle your transaction and take a bunch of the token supply. And I just think that's kind of scammy. And if you're going to do that, why don't you just mint half the token supply to your wallet? It's just ridiculous. But, pairing with Wrap TAO made it a lot more complicated for these bots to path into our token. And when they did, they usually do it with incredibly high slippage. So any mistake is like catastrophic for them, right? And on the day we launched, I call it the reckoning for the bots because, they were slipping into like the ETH pool that somebody set up with very low liquidity, and they were using very high slippage. And then very early on, the person who set it up or one of them removed liquidity, and it triggered their anti-rug mechanism. So all the bots that managed to snipe whatever they did then also hot sold all their tokens back into the pair. So they got completely wrecked. It was, they were coming into the Telegram asking for refunds, posting their transactions, and I go there and I see like Banana Gun Router, and I'm like, good game, brother.
Got it. All right, so let me just characterize what you told me for some of our listeners who don't know this. So in the BitTensor universe, BitTensor's goal in life is to create a truly open AI, right? Open AI is not really open. It's a closed company, right? And everyone else is closed in some way. BitTensor said, let's build a truly open AI, kind of like a Wikipedia of AI. Although that term is loaded now too. So, but just think about it in a idealistic sense. And the way that they do that is they have subnets. Each subnet is effectively a science project contest, right? With a goal, right? Like I want an AI that is going to be able to analyze health records and do disease prediction. That's actually one of the subnets. Or do like a Mid-Journey clone. So the subnet defines the contest. The miners compete in the Hunger Games, if you will, in that subnet to do the best job at providing AI that meets the specification. And the judges of these Hunger Games are the validators. And the validators watch and they say, that miner right there, that looks like it's passing the tests that were defined by the subnet operator the best. So they should get the most TAO rewards, which are the emissions that come out of the TAO network, kind of like Bitcoin mining, right? So that's basically how it works. And I had thought you were going to sell your services to the miners. Instead, you have told me, no, we are going to be the miners, and we will do the best job and therefore earn the most TAO. We're going to win the Hunger Games as often as possible. So far, so good?
Well, that's the ideal situation. But, you can't really go to investors with that model, right? So, ultimately, we want to lease out as much as our hardware to TAO miners, to protocols like Akash, to protocols like IO, Exabits. We want to lease out as many of these cards as we can because that helps us, with the financing, right? If their ROI is at a year and a half, on the books, that's great. That's something investors can really eat up. But, when you go to them and tell them like, yeah, we're going to go mine TAO, it's PvP, not PvE, so we could make nothing or we can make riches. That's not really an appetite that they want to hear, right? So with any of our excess compute that's not leased out, it will be dedicated to mining whatever deep-in project is most profitable.
Yes,
okay,
exactly. I would say we're not here to pick a winner in this space, right? We're here to provide, to all. So yes, we have an edge, with our intelligent compute fabric and our software and AI capabilities to mine. But we're not only going to mine on BitTensor. If you want to use our hardware to mine on BitTensor, we're happy to lease it to you as well.
Oh, okay, good. So you'll help me compete in the Hunger Games also. Yes.
Yeah, we want to sell the guns and the bullets in the war, man. Come on.
Got
it. Yeah, no, that's the best place to be, as we all know. So now
the picks and the shovels. I don't know if I have guns and bullets.
Yeah, I mean, telling GPU is now the spice, right? So, and the spice must flow, and he who controls the spice controls the universe.
There we go.
seems to be kind of where we're at with GPU at the moment. So, but let's talk specifically about BitTensor now that you're sort of you're inside the club working on BitTensor. As I described the project earlier, I think it's done a fantastic job. Sort of Act 1 of getting all these science projects kicked off and creating fierce competition to even be in a subnet, to even own a subnet or be a validator or be a miner. You have to stake TAO and you have to consistently provide great product in any one of those three areas, or you get kicked out. Doesn't matter how rich you are. And the competition is insanely fierce. So wait, let me just finish this.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's a great Act 1. However, these subnets are not necessarily being used. Right, like there's great science projects that don't have a product market fit, and I feel like that lack of evolutionary pressure from a market is unnatural and bad. Ultimately, it can't be PBS. It's got to be competing as a regular commercial channel. Aaron, do you believe I'm correct in that? And what do you think they could do about it?
Well, I would definitely not agree that every subnet is a science project. Some of these subnets are like real viable products for artificial intelligence. I don't want to get into too many specifics, but subnet 19 Vision offers like access to some amazing models. There's Cortex, which works very similar to OpenAI, that I know projects are building on. Yeah, Corcel, sorry. Corcel, and I know projects that are building on it right now because it's easier to scale than dealing with OpenAI.
Interesting.
So they're.
I didn't mean to dirt the projects. They're absolutely useful, but I don't know if they're being used.
Yeah, well, I mean, that is definitely on the shoulders of the validators for sure. These validators are getting the work done entirely for free. Essentially, their cost is the time out of the market by staking their TAO, and they get whatever this work is done essentially for free. And this is some of the most expensive work to have done on the planet right now, whether it be inferencing, training, anything around AI. Like they have File TAO, I believe, that has like something like 3 petabytes of available data, right? So
that is basically a Filecoin competitor, effectively. So open file system.
Yeah, well, I mean, you could have you could have Bitcoin essentially operating as a subnet on here. It's very flexible. It's just a matter of finding the right ones that work well with BitTensor and provide the value. And right now, with the way it's structured, if you could very much extract value from the chains. When the new update comes in, which is now starting to call DAO, it's going to change things quite a bit, right? So each subnet's going to get its own individual token pair, like it's launched on Uniswap. People are going to speculate in and out of it. When they go from TAO to this new speculated token, it's called the delegated TAO, this new token, and it trades on a curve, DTAO, and it's going to trade on a curve, just like anything on Uniswap, which allows people to speculate on the different subnets. And if you aren't bringing value to the subnet, people are just not going to speculate on it, and it's going to generate you very little value, and you could be minting. I mean, you're going to be minting 3,600 of your token a day, or 7,200 of your token a day. And if it's not valuable, it's going to be worth nothing. You cash it all out and you'll just get a tenth of a TAO, right? As opposed to now where you get 1-to-1 all the time, regardless. Yeah.
So each subnet will have its own individual, local token, in addition to the master token, the TAO, right? Just like Ethereum, there's the master token, Ethereum, and then there's the tokens on Ethereum. So these sort of subnet tokens, are they just meme coins for the subnet, or are they meant to be utility tokens within that subnet? Like you'll have to pay in those tokens to access the subnet's utility. What's the plan there? Do you know?
Yeah, well, hopefully you do not have to pay in that token, right? Because these validators need to set up services that are open to everybody, and ideally you don't even know you're dealing with a blockchain or a cryptocurrency. All you know is that you ask an AI window, give me the picture of a dog riding a rocket to the moon, and you get a really cool picture of a dog riding a rocket to the moon, right? These tokens.
You understand what I'm saying in terms of utility, right? Something like it should do something, I think, right? Or am I?
Well, yeah. I mean, these tokens are the governance token of that subnet. So he who holds the most of that governance token is the subnet owner, right? So this is incredibly valuable considering that subnet owners get 18% of the emissions, right? So this is.
There we go. Okay, that's what I was looking for. Got it. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is, and then it's on the subnet owners and the miners, and the validators to make this thing valuable so that validators want to add more stake to it. They get higher emissions. They provide greater value to BitTensor. And, the number of subnets are unlimited with this kind of factoring. It's like Uniswap. You can just keep launching them and launching them and launching them. The bad ones go to zero. The good ones go to the top, right?
Yep. Yeah, Dennis, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I should say that this is our take, on what's going on in BitTensor as, participants in the network, and also now, with Aaron and Logri as developers in the network. But we're not Open Tensor Foundation, but, we do think it's exciting, place to be working. We do think that what is happening there is cool. But I just, I want to point that out to all the listeners that, this is our take on what Open Tensor and BitTensor are doing right now. So,
yeah. Yeah, appreciate that completely. So
yeah, I speak for CETI. I got it right there.
Yes, indeed. I think you were wearing it that week when we were on our panel together as well. So
yeah, well, if I'm going to be a billboard, I want to be a billboard for myself, right? Not Adidas.
Yeah, totally, absolutely. So let's move on now to you guys must have looked at other AI projects, open AI projects, other than BitTensor. I'm thinking right now specifically of Morpheus AI. which is sort of a different tack on doing an open AI. It's the one that Eric Voorhees apparently seems to prefer. He's built his Venice.ai kind of chat GPT clone that is completely truthful. It doesn't have any sort of political bias. Whether it does or not, maybe it does in a different direction. I don't know. But
there's no such thing as no bias.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. It has a different bias. And probably a more libertarian bias, put it that way, right? Given that's Voorhees. But it does appear to be quite good. And I have used it, and I've used it for things that I could not use it. I could not ask some of the questions of a regular, of like ChatGPT or Bard, it would refuse to answer. And I'm not going to tell you what it was, but it was a very specific sort of medical thing. And it completely answered with with a lot of detail and numbers and statistics that I could not get anywhere else. So I liked it in that respect. Are you guys looking at some of these other projects? And if so, which ones do you like?
Yeah, we're looking at a lot. And I think that, so we're in discussion with other projects, about potential collaboration and partnerships. And so I think it would be premature to name any of those projects that we're in active discussion with. But, there are, like you said, a lot of very interesting decentralized AI projects out there, like Morpheus, for example, like Arbius is another one yeah, so certainly this is intriguing space for us, right? We don't want to, again, pick a winner here. We're big fans of BitTensor, but the future is wide open. And I think that there's a lot of, creative and unique approaches to decentralized AI. And, we're very active in discussions with potential partners and potential network to participate in, both on the AI side and the DeepN side. So.
Okay.
Yeah, and once our hardware gets up and running, the job that Logray and I have is to identify these projects, see if it's economically viable for us to point our hardware at it, and then chase it down, right? So if we have idle compute and it makes sense, we will be there.
Yeah. Okay.
But a lot of these projects, again, they're trying to power it with your consumer grade GPU, plug your GPU into our system. Our system is not powered by 4090s or even the 5090s that are coming out there. The technology that we're coming out with is going to allow people in other data centers with enterprise grade hardware to add to our compute, so that we can scale out enterprise grade hardware for decentralized customers, not 4090s.
Okay, so 4090. Sorry, I'm not following because I don't know the numbers like you do. So I hear C3PO, R2D2. I'm not sure what you said.
Oh, it's an NVIDIA. It's a consumer grade NVIDIA graphics card, top spec consumer grade. It's just, it's what most people put into their gaming computer, and what a lot of people were mining Ethereum with before it switched to proof of stake, right? But no, we want enterprise grade hardware, proof of memory.
Yeah, you don't want the Volkswagen, you want the Starship Enterprise.
There we go.
Yeah.
And you want a $1,500 gaming card that somehow nobody could play games with. Nobody could get one to play games with because they're already all snatched up for GPU mining and then AI. No, all of the that we're rolling out is refrigerator-sized, rocket ship-looking, material. The real enterprise-grade stuff from NVIDIA, the same stuff that those big cartel AI companies are running in their data center. And it's not fair, right? We're going to change that. We're going to make that level of compute, that level of enterprise-grade GPU available to everybody.
Yeah,
well,
Azure rents out the whole bottom floor of the data center we're in, so we're right next door to them.
Got it. Okay.
TMI, Aaron.
Yeah. So, okay. So you guys are looking at everything. What do you think about this claim? I mean, I got to ask now that since we're on the topic, what do you think about this claim of providing infinite clustering? Does that sound like bullshit to you, or does that sound possible?
I would never use the word infinite in any public thing that I was saying about the capabilities of anything that I was building. Don't know anything about the project that you're talking about, but that would be the first thing that would catch my eye is infinite. do these guys know what infinite means? If they did, they wouldn't be putting it in, whatever description of their capabilities are. Nothing is infinite. Even like, as we were talking at the beginning of the show, the Kardashev level 2, capturing all of the energy of, entire star system, as a measure of the advancement of your civilization or human civilization, that's not infinite, and that's pretty big. So,
nice callback, Dennis. Way to just sort of bookend the show there. I like that. It's very, very symmetrical, and I like it's a good show now. So, Aaron, did you have a thought on that?
I would just say that, it depends how they do it. There's this magical ability of artificial intelligence to expand horizontally infinitely across the plane, right? I mean, it's like Ethereum when it was proof of work. It didn't matter how many GPUs you plugged into that thing. They were all fully saturated running at 100% of the time, right? So whether or not their claim is real, I'm not going to speculate on that, but the technology out there for artificial intelligence to expand is there. The way I look at it is like you look at these super compute nodes. I mean, NVIDIA can link 256 cards up together when they're building the entire architecture to do this. And you're telling me you figured it out how to do it with their consumer grades? Okay. We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. All right, guys, we're coming up we're at the 50-minute mark. I usually like to sort of pull back, and I want to ask you guys, like, what didn't I ask that I should have? Do you think I got this more or less right, or is there something you've just been dying to talk about that I just don't get to? Dennis, is there anything sort of burning on your end?
No, I think we covered a lot of ground today. It's very exciting. This is a super exciting time to be working on the CETI AI project because we're just about to light up, our first installation. It's going to be, a very exciting time for the entire CETI community who have been eagerly anticipating this moment coming up. So I think that, we got into what CETI AI is all about and how we came to be. And the future is very bright. And especially after we light up this first pilot scale implementation and down the road, let's circle back and share more of what's going on in the CETI AI space.
Yeah, for sure. I'm a huge fan of BitTensor, and I'm invested. I got my neck deep in it as well. So, and I've done 3 shows. I've done 4 shows on it now. So it's wow. I keep coming back to it. So I'm in. Aaron, you have some final thoughts there? Like Dennis said, we covered a lot of ground. I don't really think we missed anything. Honestly, I'm just grateful to be on this show to share this message. And, and I think Dennis mentioned our community there, and I'm grateful for them too. I think we have an amazing community. We've had people come on there try to they try to fund the project, and this is at 6 a.m. before I'm even awake. And by the time I wake up, the community has done so many clown emojis on their messages that they end up just deleting all their messages and leaving the Telegram. So, I'm so grateful for the community we have. And of course, my business partners. So, Tony, Austin, of course, Dennis here and Logray. I think the world of these guys, and I look forward to this journey that we've been on for only 2 months, and it's already blown away every minute expectation I had for this company. Has just been So yeah, I think what you guys are doing is super cool. So I do appreciate both of you coming on. Let's make sure we get this right this time. So the name of the company is CETI.ai. That's where we find you online, right?
The name of the company, CETI AI. You can find us online at taoceti.ai.
Like spelled with a C, just to be clear. Yeah, not like an S, a C.
Yeah, and, Aaron, show him your shirt.
Yeah, so you show the shirt, so we all see. There we go. Not SETI at home, but SETI with a C.
Yeah, so, and it's taoceti.ai is the URL, and then the company name is CETI AI. You can also find us on X. I think it's I just had it open. Yeah, it's CETI AI. I think CETI_AI. So yeah, you can find us there.
That's the X handle. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen. Once again, thank you so much for coming on. My name is Mark Jeffrey. This has been Hash Rate. We'll see you all next time.